You're listening to the Fringianity Underground podcast. Fringe topics with a Christian point of view. Now here's your host, Leo Rutledge.
On this episode, I'm going to continue my analysis and look at the book of Enoch. This is part 2 in my series of audio readings of the book of Enoch. So if you did not listen to part 1, you're going to be missing out on the point and the beginning of the book of Enoch. So please listen to these in order to get the full picture of what Enoch is talking about in these audio readings of the book of Enoch. So with that, let's begin the show.
And it came to pass, when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. And Semjasa, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him and said, Let us all swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. Then swear they all together, and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And they were in all 200 who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And these are the names of their leaders: Semiasas, their leader, Arakiba, Ramael, Kukabiel, Tamiel, Ramiel, Daniel, Ezekiel, Berekiel, Osael, Amaros, Batarel, Ananel, Sagiel, Samsopiel, Saterel, Turel, Jomiel, Sariel. These are the chiefs of tens. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go in unto them, and to defile themselves with them, and they taught them charms, and enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants, and they became pregnant. And they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 eels, who consumed all the inquisition of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giant turned against them, and devoured mankind, and they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh, and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. And Azazel taught men to make swords, and knives, and shields, and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth, and the art of working them, and bracelets, and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stone, and all coloring tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornications, and they were led astray, and became corrupt in all their ways.
So they became corrupt in all their ways because of the things that the angels, the fallen angels, had taught them. So doesn't that stand to make you wonder that maybe 200 years ago when technology just came out of nowhere. Just basically we went from horse and buggies to literally cars, NASA, space shuttles, whether or not you believe that they're taking off and going to space or not, the technology's there. And, I mean, all this stuff wouldn't you think that maybe that is what speeded up the technology so that it would be to the standard that it is today? And in the days of Babylon, it even talks about that whatever man could imagine would be possible if it wasn't for God to put a stop to it. So the corruption that these angels brought on the earth must have been pretty amazing. I mean, they taught us things that we wouldn't have known about. And even just down to the makeup, putting on makeup for women. Because women, there's a lot of women that are beautiful and they don't even need any makeup, and yet they're covering their faces like some kind of a mask, basically, when they really don't need it. But anyway, and that's what these angels taught. They came down and they taught their wives, the daughters of men that they took, all these things, and then I'm sure they taught them to their kids, the Nephilim, or the giants, whatever, the ones that, the people that became basically Zeus and all that, the old Greek, whatever, god realm, I imagine. I don't think that they were, I don't know if they were fallen angels, but maybe they were. I don't know. I do have this theory that Prometheus was real, and I believe that he was a fallen angel because he brought fire down from God or the gods or whatever you want to call it back then in the story of Prometheus. And in other words, he's like a freedom fighter for men, but he's really kind of like a stand-in for Lucifer, because Lucifer brought knowledge from God to men, that type of thing. That's how these Gnostics and these Freemasons, all these strange cult type of people seem to look at Prometheus or these gods like they're bringing good things. Like Lucifer is good because he, gave us knowledge so that we would know, and like in other words, like it's a good thing to rebel against God or whatever, or not follow his rules. But whatever. But it's just interesting I just wanted to point that out, that's very interesting that they taught us all these things. And yeah, that little clip was from last week near the end, but I felt that was such an important part of Genesis 6 and the book of Enoch. That really is the foundation of the book of Enoch, when these fallen angels came down and what they did. And they basically committed a great sin against God, because God gave free will so that they would be able to do that. That includes free will for humans, too. Now, what kind of a God would he be if he forced you to love him? I mean, that's a dictator. I know a lot of people like to call God a dictator, but I don't know if he's such a dictator if he's telling you, hey, it's up to you. You can choose to love me. But if you don't choose to love me, your Father who created you, and you choose to love a lie, then that's your choice. You're going to destroy yourself then. But he's telling you, hey, why don't you go back on the good path with me, or continue down the dark road that you're on. It's like a father telling a drug addict, if you get off drugs, your life will be better and you'll be more happy with your life. But the drug addict is fighting back, saying, no, I want to have it my way. And then he ends up dying from a heroin overdose, That's basically what humans are with sin. We're going to overdose on sin eventually, basically, if we keep it up, or if we keep on getting worse and worse as society crumbles, Well, anyway, I'll get back to the book of Enoch. I'm going to play the second audio part now.
Semyasa taught enchantments and root cuttings. Amoros, the resolving of enchantments. Barakiel taught astrology. Kukabel, the constellation. Ezekiel, the knowledge of the clouds. Arakiel, the signs of the earth. Shamsiel, the sign of the sun, and Sariel, the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. And then Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven, and saw much blood being shed upon the earth, and all lawlessness being wrought upon the earth. And they said one to another, The earth made without inhabitant cries the voice of their cryings up to the gates of heaven. And now to you, the holy ones of heaven, the souls of men make their suit, saying, Bring our cause before the Most High. And they said to the Lord of the ages, Lord of lords, God of gods, King of kings, and God of the ages, the throne of thy glory standeth unto all the generation of the ages, and thy name, holy and glorious and blessed unto all ages. Thou hast made all things, and power over all things hast thou, and all things are naked and open in thy sight, and thou seest all things, and nothing can hide itself from thee. Thou seest what Azazel has done, who hath taught all unrighteousness on earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were preserved in heaven, which men were striving to learn. And Semjasa, to whom thou hast given authority to bear rule over his associates. And they have gone to the daughters of men upon the earth, and have slept with them, and have defiled themselves, and revealed to them all kinds of sin. And the women have borne giants, and the whole earth has thereby been filled with blood and unrighteousness. And now behold, the souls of those who have died are crying and making their suit to the gates of heaven, and their lamentations have ascended and cannot cease, because of the lawless deeds which are wrought on the earth. And thou knowest all things before thy come to pass, and thou seest these things, and thou dost suffer them. And thou dost not say to us what we are to do to them in regard to these. Then said the Most High, the Holy and Great One spake, and sent Uriel to the son of Lamech, and said to him, Go to Noah, and tell him in my name, hide thyself, and reveal to him the end that is approaching, that the whole earth will be destroyed, and a deluge is about to come upon the whole earth, and will destroy all that is on it. And now instruct him that he may escape, and his seed may be preserved for all the generation of the world. And again the Lord said to Raphael, Bind Azazel hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, and make an opening in the desert, which is in Dudael, and cast him therein, and place upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him abide there forever, and cover his face, that he might not see light. And on the day of the great judgment he shall be cast into the fire, and heal the earth which the angels have corrupted, and proclaim the healing of the earth, that they may heal the plague, and that all the children of men may not perish through all the secret thing that the watchers have disclosed, and have taught their sons. And the whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribed all sin. And to Gabriel said the Lord, Proceed against the bastards and the reprobates, and against the children of fornication, and destroy the children of fornication, and the children of the watchers from among men, and cause them to go forth. Send them one against the other, that they might destroy each other in battle. For length of days shall they not have, and no request that they make shall they be granted unto the fathers on their behalf, for they hope to live an eternal life, and that each one of them will live 500 years. And the Lord said unto Michael, Go and bind Semjasa and his associates, who have united themselves with women, so as to have defiled themselves with them in all their uncleanness, and with their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones. Bind them fast for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth, till the day of their judgment, and of their consummation, till the judgment that is forever and ever is consummated. In those days they shall be led off to the abyss of fire, and to the torment and the prison in which they shall be confined forever. And whosoever shall be condemned and destroyed will from the henceforth be bound together with them to the end of all generations. And destroy all the spirits of the reprobates and the children of the watchers, because they have wronged mankind. Destroy all wrong from the face of the earth, and let every evil work come to an end. And let the plant of righteousness and truth appear, and it shall prove a blessing. The works of righteousness and truth shall be planted in truth and joy forevermore. And then shall all the righteous escape, and shall live till they beget thousands of children. And all the days of their youth and their old age shall be completed in peace. And then shall the whole earth be filled in righteousness, and shall be planted with trees, and be full of blessing. And all desirable tree shall be planted on it, and they shall plant vines on it, and the wine which they plant thereon shall yield wine in abundance. And as for all the seed which is sown thereon, each measure of it shall bear 1,000. And each measure of olive shall yield 10 presses of oil. And cleanse thou the earth from all oppression, and from all unrighteousness, and from all sin, and from all ungodliness, and all the uncleanness that is wrought upon the earth. Destroy from off the earth. And all the children of men shall become righteous, and all nations shall offer adoration, and shall praise me, and shall worship me. And the earth shall be cleansed from all defilement, and from all sin, and from all punishment, and from all torment, and I will never again send them upon it from generation to generation, and forever. And in those days I will open the store chambers of blessings which are in the heaven, so as to send them down upon the earth over the work and labor of the children of men. And truth and peace shall be associated together throughout all the days of the world, and throughout all the generations of men. Before these things Enoch was hidden, and no one of the children of men knew where he was, and where he abode, and what had become of him. And his activities had to do with the watchers, and his days were with the holy ones. And I, Enoch, was blessing the Lord of majesty, and the King of the ages. And lo, the watchers called me, Enoch the scribe, and said to me, Enoch, thou scribe of righteousness, go, declare to the watchers of the heaven, who have left the high heaven, the holy eternal place, and have defiled themselves with women, and have done as the children of earth do, and have taken unto themselves wives. Ye have wrought great destruction on the earth, and ye shall have no peace nor forgiveness of sin. And insomuch as they delight themselves in their children, the murder of their beloved ones shall they see, and over the destruction of their children shall they lament, and shall make supplication unto eternity, but mercy and peace shall ye not attain.
Boy, that's a dense book full of information. I mean, that tells us fallen angel names. It tells us what was going on before the flood. It tells us a little bit more about Noah and talking about how he was hidden. It tells us all kinds of stuff. It tells us about how God was angry and wanted to destroy the giants. He didn't want to destroy men. He didn't list off the men. I'm sure there's people, he was talking about some of the people who were fornicating and doing all kinds of crazy stuff too. But he wanted to get rid of the giants so badly that he wanted the earth to be just for men, just for the human race. He did not create the earth for the giants. So, I mean, he's literally telling angels to go and literally set the giants against each other so they'll kill each other off. He wants these things dead. And let's just be honest. That means the giants and its offspring of the giants, the children that they had with women or whatever, that's pretty much what they're saying. So he's not just talking about just grown giant men. He's talking about the whole race of giants. That's men, women, and children, I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm just guessing. So that makes more sense because in the days of after the flood, because the giants were before the flood and after, there was still some left after somehow. But anyway, those days, it said that they are as grasshoppers to the giants. That's how small they're talking about when they seen the giants in Israel or in the Holy Land or whatever. So that explains a whole lot, that God wanted every man, woman, and child, giant, Nephilim, whatever you want to call them, to be wiped out. Because they were not made by God for this earth. They were not put here. The angels that rebelled and broke God's commands with their free will decided to use their free will to have children on the earth. And that was the giants. I know a lot of people like to say that the giants came from aliens, and I guess that if you consider it that way, then I guess that means angels are aliens. Whatever. I don't believe in that alien crap. It's just, the aliens are demons. Let's get over it, okay? They're always doing evil things. They come in the middle of the night. They force you to do things sexually, and they do all kinds of weird stuff. I mean, they mutilate people. They take sexual organs. They want to impregnate women. It sounds like the Nephilim. It sounds like something. It sounds like corruption, if you ask me. And that's what the demons do. And the demons, I think, are the spirits of the giants that died. Because if you notice, they are not written in the book of life. So they don't deserve any place. They don't have any place. So they are the ones that are destined to roam the earth and haunt people. If you want to say your grandma's haunting you, it's probably a Nephilim spirit or whatever. If they had spirits. I don't know. I don't know how it all works. All I know is I don't believe in ghosts. I believe that they are demons. And I don't believe in aliens because I believe that, once again, they are demons. And you got to ask yourself why every time somebody calls upon Jesus Christ, when they're an abductee, the demons or the aliens just disappear. They don't want to. They come from Zeta Meticula to tell you to not worship Jesus. Really, of all the religions in the world, we're not supposed to worship Jesus. Maybe that's the one that they're weak to. In other words, they're demons. They're deceiving you. But anyway, that little chapter right there, that really talks about how. I mean, I think Azazel, the angel, was buried in the ground for eternity, and then he'll be thrown into the lake of fire after that. So that's pretty amazing for his crimes. I mean, the things that he taught is pretty amazing. So anyway, I'll play the next one just to continue this.
And Enoch went and said, Azazel, thou shalt have no peace. A severe sentence has gone forth against thee to put thee in bonds, and thou shalt not have toleration nor request granted to thee, because of the unrighteousness which you have taught, and because of all the works of godlessness and unrighteousness and sin which thou hast shown to men. Then I went and spoke to them all together, and they were all afraid, and fear and trembling seized them. And they besought me to draw up a petition for them, that they might find forgiveness, and to read their petition in the presence of the Lord of heaven. For from thenceforward they could not speak with him, nor lift up their eyes to heaven for shame of their sins, for which they had been condemned. Then I wrote out their petition, and the prayer in regard to their spirits and their deeds individually, and in regard to their request that they should have forgiveness and length. And I went off and sat down at the waters of Dan, in the land of Dan, to the south of the west of Hermon. I read their petition till I fell asleep. And behold, a dream came to me, and visions fell down upon me, and I saw visions of chastisement, and a voice came bidding me to tell it to the sons of heaven, and reprimand them. And when I awakened, I came unto them, and they were all sitting gathered together, weeping, in Abel-Jael, which is between Lebanon and Seneser, with their faces covered. And I recounted before them all the visions which I had seen in sleep. And I began to speak the words of righteousness, and to reprimand the heavenly watchers. The book of the words of righteousness, and of the reprimand of the eternal watchers, in accordance with the command of the Holy Great One in that vision. I saw in my sleep what I will now say with a tongue of flesh and with the breath of my mouth, which the Great One has given to men to converse therewith and understand with the heart. As he has created and given to man the power of understanding the word of wisdom, so hath he created me also, and given me the power of reprimanding the watchers, the children of heaven. I wrote out your petition, and in my vision it appeared thus, that your petition will not be granted unto you throughout all the days of eternity, and that judgment has been finally passed upon you. Yea, your petition will not be granted unto you, and from henceforth you shall not ascend into heaven unto all eternity. And in bonds of the earth the decree has gone forth to bind you for all the days of the world, and that previously you shall have seen the destruction of your beloved sons, and ye shall have no pleasure in them, but they shall fall before you by the sword, and your petition on their behalf shall not be granted, nor yet on your own, even though you weep and pray and speak all the words contained in the writings which I have written. And the vision was shown to me thus: behold, in the vision clouds invited me, and a mist summoned me. And the course of the saints of the lightning sped and hastened me, and the winds in the vision caused me to fly, and lifted me upward, and bore me into heaven. And I went in till I drew nigh to a wall which is built of crystals, and surrounded by tongues of fire, and it began to affright me. And I went into the tongues of fire, and drew nigh to a large house, which was built of crystals. And the walls of the house were like a tesselled floor, made of crystals, and its groundwork was of crystals. Its ceiling was like the path of the stars, and the lightnings, and between them were fiery cherubim. And their heaven was clear as water. A flaming fire surrounded the walls, and its portals blazed with fire. And I entered into that house, and I was hot as fire and cold as ice. There were no delights of life therein. Fear covered me, and trembling gat hold upon me, and as I quaked and trembled, I fell upon my face, and beheld a vision. And lo, there was a second house, greater than the former, and the entire portal stood open before me, and it was built of flames of fire, and in every respect it so excelled in splendor and magnificence an extent that I cannot describe to you its splendorous and its extent, and its floor was of fire, and above it were lightnings and the path of the stars, and its ceiling also was flaming fire. And I looked and saw therein a lofty throne. Its appearance was as crystal, and the wheels thereof as the shining sun. And there was the vision of cherubim, and from underneath the throne came streams of flaming fire, so that I could not look thereon. And the great glory sat thereon, and his raiment shone more brightly than the sun, and was whiter than any snow. None of the angels could enter and could behold his face, by reason of the magnificence and glory, and no flesh could behold him. The flaming fire was round about him, and a great fire stood before him, and none around could draw nigh him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him, yet he needed no counselor. And the most holy ones who were nigh to him did not leave by night, nor departed from him, and until then I had been prostrate on my face, trembling. And the Lord called me with his own mouth, and said to me, Come hither, Enoch, and hear my word. And one of the holy ones came to me and wakened me, and he made me rise up and approach the door, and I bowed my face downward. And he answered and said to me, and I heard his voice, Fear not, Enoch, thou righteous man and scribe of righteousness. Approach hither and hear my voice. And go, say to the watchers of heaven, who have sent thee to intercede for them, you should intercede for men, and not men for you. Wherefore have ye left the high, holy, and eternal heaven, and laid with women, and defiled yourself with the daughters of men, and taken to yourself wives, and done like the children of earth, and begotten giants as your sons? And though you were holy, spiritual, living the eternal life, you have defiled yourself with the blood of women, and have begotten children with the blood of flesh. And as the children of men have lusted after flesh and blood, as those also do who die and perish. Therefore have I given them wives also, that they might impregnate them and beget children by them, that thus nothing might be wanting to them on earth. But you were formerly spiritual, living the eternal life and immortal for all generations of the world. And therefore I have not appointed wives for you. For as for the spiritual ones of the heaven, in heaven is their dwelling. And now the giants who are the are produced from the spirits and flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth. And on the earth shall be their dwelling. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies, because they are born from men, and from the holy watchers is their beginning and primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on earth, and evil spirits shall they be called. As for the spirits of heaven, in heaven shall be their dwelling. But as the spirits of the earth, which were born upon the earth, on the earth shall be their dwelling. And spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, and work destructive on earth, and cause trouble. They take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst, and cause offenses. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men, and against the women, because they have proceeded from them. From the days of the slaughter and destruction and death of the giants, from the soul of whose flesh the spirits have gone forth, shall destroy without incurring judgment. Thus shall they destroy until the day of the consummation, the great judgment, in which the age shall be consummated over the watchers and the godless. Yea, shall be wholly consummated. And now as to the watchers who have sent thee to intercede for them who have been aforetime in heaven, say to them, you have been in heaven.
So the fallen angels, the watchers, they really get a scolding, basically through Enoch, because God will not talk to them or whatever. And they basically are doomed to watch their offspring, like I said. The giants kill each other, and their spirits are, like I guess I didn't realize that before when I was talking about ghosts, but it sounds to me like I said, they are doomed to be the spirits that roam the earth. Not humans, but they're not your grandmother, in other words. They are the spirits that roam the earth. So when you get a haunting, you're really getting an old giant or whatever that has been haunted and roaming the earth. And this explains a lot of other stuff, because it says, like, when Jesus is around, he has to cast out demons. When Jesus arrives on the scene, there's no giants, really, from what I heard of anyway. And so Jesus has to cast out spirits. Well, there was no spirits before this, so where did they come from? So, and we all know that because of the flood, all the giants were killed off and drowned in the flood. So therefore, or I shouldn't say all, but most of the giants were killed off in the flood. So those spirits would be roaming because they'd be half, because they're mingled. They're half giant, half human. So I imagine they'd have a little bit of the spirit from the human, because they don't have spirits themselves, left. And that, whatever that is, will roam endlessly until judgment. So that's kind of weird, and it kind of answers my question now, that yes, the ghosts are the fallen giants, which is kind of creepy if you think about it. I mean, so all of the fornication and all the twisted corruption and all that stuff that they knew about is going to come out in the spirit, just say, today. You know, like people like these singers or whatever, they get up on stage and they say like Beyonce has Sasha Fierce, she becomes, you know. What if that spirit, that other personality that she becomes, is really a spirit that enters her body, like Legion did in the days of Jesus, and basically it's one spirit that is named Sasha Fierce, and she basically turns into that. She's not herself. She's actually the spirit of a fallen giant, and acting out and doing all these strange, perverted sexual acts or whatever. And it says that the giants will be against their human counterparts. So their human counterparts are going to be like, well, you know, it's basically they're going to be at war with the humans. So that's what is going on with the giants. And I mean, it sounds to me like Enoch was almost without sin. I don't understand, but he must have been pretty close to perfect. I don't know, maybe he was perfect, but I don't think it says that he was perfect. But Enoch, well, he must be in order to stand before God, before the throne. God must have purified him. I'm not sure how it all works, I guess. This is the part where I say this is all theory, my personal opinions. So don't hold me accountable like I'm some kind of a scriptural genius. But it's very interesting that he comes in and God says, Enoch, the righteous, like and the cool part is Enoch is judging angels. And I can't remember where it was in the New Testament. I think it's John or somebody says, don't you know that you will judge angels? I can't remember. I'm sure somebody's screaming at their podcast that knows, saying, my God, this guy don't know anything. But yeah, I don't know exact quotes from the Bible. I just know that I've read something somewhere and I don't know it. I'm not a professional here, okay? I'm not a pastor. I haven't memorized scripture. I just know the heart of it, of what the Bible is trying to tell you, you know. And if that's not good enough for some people, then I'm sorry, I'm an imperfect person, and just live with it, because nobody's perfect. But at least I'm trying to get to know more about God instead of less. But it's really interesting how this is all turning out, that Enoch is got this petition from the Watcher Angels to go talk to God, and basically he's turning them down, you know, saying, no, you're going to watch your fallen, your children, the giants, fight themselves and die, and you will die like men, basically, and you will be destined to stay on the earth. You cannot come back up to heaven. You're locked out, basically. And so that's pretty amazing. And Lucifer, I haven't heard from him at all. He's not in this mix yet. These are just fallen angels, the 200 watchers that came down on Mount Hermon. So that's kind of interesting. But you got to wonder, when the flood happened, where the giants that did get on to the other side of the flood, you know, they made it through, because there was giants before the flood and after. You got to wonder where they hid themselves. Maybe the fallen angels might have taught them that there's holes in the earth, like a hollow earth, that they could go into where they could hide somehow. Well, whatever. That's pretty much all I have for this week. I'll continue next time whenever I do a show on this. So with that, thank you for listening.
If you enjoy this show, please feel free to share it. You can find us on Spreaker, iTunes, and most podcatchers. And if you'd like to support the show, please leave a review on iTunes or Spreaker or wherever you find this show. And for more information on this show, go to the Fringianity Underground podcast Facebook group and like us. Images will be posted there for this show and others as well. Please check Spreaker or wherever you get this podcast every Sunday evening for new episodes. And thank you for listening.